Graham Network Nation. Good evening. Interesting conversation I want to talk about tonight in the wake of some very interesting things that's been going on in the news over the last couple of weeks. I know, and if I'm correct, the gentleman's name is the congressman out of Florida, Byron Donald, and actually it's Brooklyn, New York guy. So a lot of commonality there. And then, of course, went to Florida State, went into law, married to his wife, his beautiful wife, and has three beautiful boys. So why am I talking about Byron Donald? Well, I thought it was very interesting to me that he has come under a lot of scrutiny for a couple of reasons. The first and foremost reason was that he had mentioned uh, to someone that uh, the Jim Crow era, as horrific as it was an era where there were more black fathers in the home than pretty much almost at any other time in history. Now we know what happened leading up to the Jim Crow era. We had slavery and the horrific things that took place there. We know a lot of the fathers, taken out of the homes and sold to other plantations. We get that. Late 1800s, early 19th century, 19th, 20th century, all the things that went on during the Jim Crow era. So we don't have to continue to reproduce that. But what I thought was very interesting and unfortunate was the level of attacks that this congressman came under at the hands of people like Reverend Al Sharpton and a lot of Whoopi Goldberg and that crew on her little talk show that she's got, The View. And so you're seeing a lot of attacks going after this guy, and I really didn't think it was warranted because if you really think about what he was talking about not the fact that the Jim Crow era was a great era. Obviously, we know about the things like Emmett Till and there's other horrific things that have happened to the African American men during that time period, even families, even though there were fathers, which this one particular reporter wanted to bring out that what about those incidents? But to his point, and he made it clear that he's not glorifying the Jim Crow era, but he just wanted to make a note of how families stuck together versus the late 60s and 70s. And many of you who've seen the movie Claudine, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's actually shot in my home street block, Edgecombe Avenue. But the movie itself symbolizes the impact that the social services system had on the black community by pushing blacks out of the home, like James Earl Jones, who portrayed the wannabe husband who wanted this woman, played by Diane Carroll, the legendary Diane Carroll. And the point is that era ushered in, more single women, taking on the mantra of trying to be uh, father and mother at the same time. But I wanted to show a very interesting video that I think supports a lot of the data that Mr. Donalds was trying to convey. Unfortunately, didn't really have a chance to get that far because he was so viciously attacked. But take a look at a video that kind of highlights. Now, mind you, now the Jim Crow era lasted all the way to 1965. Okay, this documentary was shot in 1954. So let's see what we got.
Yes, this is the market we're talking about, the new Negro family. Their name is Wells or Wilson, Smith or Brown or Alexander or Breen. They live in Chicago, in Atlanta or New York, in Detroit, St. Louis, Los Angeles, any one of 1,000 cities and towns. All over the country, families such as this are enjoying new prosperity. They have new interests, new standards of living, a buying power they've never enjoyed before. There are good prospects for practically all types of goods and services. All too often, though, they're overlooked prospects. Why? Because of some good, valid reason? No. They're overlooked because of mistaken ideas, because of out-of-date ideas about how the Negro lives, and how he buys.
So I've got to stop it a little bit because I got to get my point off. But you noticed in these videos, you see father, sons, husbands, wives. So again, this video shot 1954, okay, in the middle, right smack dead of the Jim Crow era. So you also notice how they're making reference to the fact that this community, of course, African American Negro, as they called it, was a rising power during this time period.
The truth of the matter is that the Negro lives pretty much the same as other folks. He buys pretty much the same way, too. But just the same, a lot of old doubts and opinions keep cropping up over and over again.
I don't like to do business with Negroes. They're drifters. You can't keep track of them.
Yes, although a lot of people think that way, the truth is that 1 out of every 3 Negro families living in cities today owns its own home. That figure comes directly from the United States Bureau of Census.
Maybe so, but Negroes are poor credit risks.
Not more of a credit risk than any other group. Actually, the Negro homebuyer meets his payments faithfully, often more faithfully than other race groups in the same economic level. That's the information we got from people who ought to know, the National Association of Real Estate Boards.
Well, maybe, but I've always heard that Negroes buy shoddy, poor quality merchandise.
No, it's just the other way around. According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products.
All right, what do we see at this dinner table? A husband and a wife. So again, it's one thing to attack a man, and again, I hate this political scam game that's being played. That's why I don't really do political videos, because it's just such a sham to me. When you look at the reality of what we see here, you clearly see an African American family, a husband and a wife, well dressed, sitting down, having a very fine dinner in their home. Again, one of the things that stood out was that this video, again, was shot in the 1954 era. So again, it goes back to people that just don't want to look at the big picture, right? Because of political reasons, they want to look at that little small picture and then try to beat you over the head with events that happen. And as horrific as the events like the Emmett Till and events like that were, you can't beat somebody over the head and blind yourself to the fact that there were a lot of other positive things going on in the African American community, as this video supports.
Products than any other comparable United States group. You see, there are a lot of confused notions about the Negro customer, but when you dig right down and find out about them, they just don't hold water. Negroes own homes. They meet their payments faithfully. They buy good brands of merchandise. So why let a lot of old-fashioned ideas hurt profits? Take a look at the real facts. Here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, some amazing facts and figures about this new market have been uncovered.
Now, this is one of the things that the Reverend Al Sharpton didn't want to talk about. He talks about some of the facts, but this is why we have the problems that we have. Because again, no one wants to fact check. Everybody wants to flip-flap the mouths. But let's listen to some of the statistical data as it was in 1952.
For a first-hand report, we would like to take you directly to the United States Department of Commerce to hear this story from the Secretary of Commerce himself. Here is the Honorable Sinclair Weeks, the Secretary of Commerce of the United States.
In the Department of Commerce, we are constantly alert to trends that mean a healthier national economy, better business for the nation as a whole. Recently, we have been interested in a rising young market, one that represents a huge potential for goods and services. I'm referring to the new Negro market. The tremendous buying power of this group is backed, of course, by increased earning power. The average Negro family's income is at a record high. In fact, since 1939, it has increased more than the average income of all other Americans. Just take a look at a few figures. An official Department of Commerce report shows that at least 1/3 of the Negroes living in cities earn from $2,000 to $5,000 a year. Today, the average Negro wage earner brings home a paycheck 4 times larger than the one he collected in 1939.
And let me give you an impact of that. The average national salary, and I know you probably say, well, that's no money. Well, hold on, guys. We're talking about 1954. The average national salary in 1954 across the United States was $3,300, according to the homeworkstudy.com. $3,300. What this gentleman showed you was that the average salary of an American Negro, as they called us back then, was anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000. That meant you had African Americans that were making $2,000 to $3,000, at least $2,000 higher than the national average. And this is in 1954, 4 times larger than in 1939. Now, again, we know what a lot of this drove after World War II, short history lesson. The industrial age really took off after World War II. You had more 2-family households that were working then, because a lot of the women who had to go to work while the men were being killed off in World War II. Well, when the men came back, a lot of women decided, to stay working, and they realized that this was a boom in income. Literally, that's why if you notice, the early 1950s was huge, right? So again, in the middle of the Jim Crow era. So when I listen to people like Whoopi Goldberg, Al Sharpton, all these people talking this crazy talk, and the statistics is showing us right here, live, real-time data, these people don't know what they're talking about. And this is in the Jim Crow era. So again, Byron Donalds was not trying to diminish the Jim Crow era or support the Jim Crow era. He's just simply stating the facts. And if he's not stating the facts, then on this video, I'm going to state the facts.
As a whole, the Negro market has a total income of about $15 billion every year. And after taxes, Negro families still have many billions of dollars to spend. Here is a buying power that cannot help but have a tremendous effect on our national economy and on business prosperity in general. When these dollars are spent for a wide range of goods, services, and employment, business everywhere is bound to feel the impact.
This new buying power has resulted in a class Negro market, a profitable, above-average income group of consumers. For example, the nation's largest newspaper and magazine research organization, Daniel Starch and staff, report.
I hate to keep stopping it, but what do you see here? What is Byron Donalds saying? You see a father, a mother, and a child. That's what you see. 2 income families, 2 household families, an African-American father and an African-American home. Again, this is what Byron Donalds was talking about. This is the data, okay, for all the women on The View, all the women on people on CNN. This is the data. Again, not diminishing the fact that there were horrific things taking place in the Jim Crow era. However, you cannot deny what we're looking at in 1954. You cannot deny what we're looking at in 1954. So again, what did the congressman really say, right? What did he actually say? I want to look at something real quick too, just to kind of give retrospect to what we're talking here. In 1950, 64% of Black African Americans were married in 1950, in the 1950s. 1950, 64%. So those are real numbers, guys. You cannot take those numbers for granted and just kind of look the other way and act like, that's not what you saw.
Reports these significant figures. More than 51% of the readers of Ebony magazine have a record player in their homes. Almost 64% own a television set. And almost 78% enjoy the convenience of an electric refrigerator. It is also...
What did you see? A Black father, refrigerator, record player. These were people who were pooling their resources together in the African American community. Again, guys, make no mistake, this video was shot in 1954 during the Jim Crow era.
Also a fact, and this is from the magazine The Food Field Reporter, that Negroes spend almost $3 billion a year for food alone. Per capita, they buy more cosmetics, drugs, and toiletries than anyone else in the country. And their children are better educated, too, because since 1930, enrollment in Negro colleges is up 2,500%. But really, to recognize the importance of this class Negro market, we must realize that something has been happening economically in our country. People are on the move. The population is shifting. The makeup of metropolitan populations today is different than it was just a few short years ago. To give you a better idea of what we mean, we set up several cameras, candid cameras, in a number of shopping locations. Take a look at these shoppers.
Can't remember that.
Notice what a large proportion of them are Negroes. What's the reason? It's simply this. Negro families are moving into the cities where there are more job opportunities. Here they find occupations with more prestige and security, jobs that pay more money. As a result, Negro families today often make up the largest part of Central City consumer prospects. A shoe store in Chicago's Loop, for example, reports that more than 50% of its customers are Negroes. In another case, a drugstore located at a transfer point in a non-Negro neighborhood finds that its Negro customers total 25%. The trend.
So I'm going to stop right there, and I think this video, I'm about to bring it to a close because I think the point that I wanted to make is this. Facts for facts, right? Forget the blah, blah, blah. Forget the sound bites. It sounds good. You know, Reverend Al Sharpton, he should know better because he's an older gentleman. You know, he should know about this era, you know. So let's just make it crystal clear. The fact that people like Sharpton got the education and was able to do the things that they did was because of these people in this picture. These were his parents, right, who went to the cities and did move up to the New York City area, the Chicago's, and just like my grandparents did. You know, that's why I'm educated, because my mom was educated, right? We went to school, we went to college, right? So these are the things that prove that, no, again, not here to glorify Jim Crow era. That's not what this is about. But at the same time, can we please be honest that African-American families that were together during that time period, 1954, were by many standards considered very, very successful? Can we at least say that, guys? Ron G, your console, the Net Worth Nation. Peace. Let's talk soon.